Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and there's a serious escalation of the situation in the South China Sea between Philippines and China. And I'm going to show you the flags, and you will decide, who is right, who is wrong. It's really up to you. And so what happened is that the Philippines claimed that the Chinese Coast Guard has boarded their naval vessel, military navy vessels in the South China Sea, and in fact they have actually published videos showing exactly that. And so this is a screenshot of the video. There is also other videos over here. You can see that they have this and this. I don't want to show the video here because I do not know if YouTube will demonetize this video or if I show the video. So I just want to to talk about the implications and the perspective between the two sides, and you can decide who is right, who is wrong. It's really up to you. So the Coast Guard, the Chinese Coast Guard basically rammed the Navy ship, and there is actually video footage to prove that. There is video footage to prove that. It's actually over here. I think it's not this one. I think it's the other one. I think, yeah, it's not here. Okay, wait, let me show you. So you can actually find this on DPA's Telegram channel, and also you can also find me retweeting this on DPA's Twitter, or you can just go to the Armed Forces of Philippines social media. You'll probably see this, and one of this scene is this Chinese inflatable boat basically crashing into the Philippine version of it, and you can see that it comes in at a high speed and rammed onto the Philippine vessel. So there is literally video footage to show exactly this had happened, and this is off the second Thomas Shore, where the Philippines actually have a garrison aboard a very old World War II era ship, and so I can actually show you as well. And basically the Chinese has becoming more and more assertive, in the so-called defense of their 9-dash line, and they claim that based on, if you believe in Chinese rhetoric, that the 9-9 is legitimate and is the historical Chinese sea, then of course you will agree that with the Chinese that the Chinese Coast Guard is protecting their territorial waters, and the Filipinos are encroaching into Chinese water. Which is of course, China is here, and then somehow they claim everything, all the way here. If you feel that is legitimate, it's up to you. So this is the South China Sea mapping, and so the Chinese is this light pink one. Oh no, the red one. The light pink one is Vietnamese. So this is the Vietnamese one. The red one is the Chinese one. Yellow is Philippines, and this purple one is Malaysia. So the one second Thomas Shore, the naval vessel is actually here. You can see this is the vessel that the Filipinos have rammed a ship ashore and literally used it as a outpost because they were so desperate at trying to protect this territorial grounds or islands of them, because there was one period of time everybody is just rushing for every single island, and this is the end result, with the Chinese having multiple islands here and there, and then you have the Malaysians taking whatever is within their EEZ. The Vietnam also claims a lot of these waters, and then Filipinos have the rest over here. Among here, there is this blue one. This is Taiwan. This is claimed by Taiwan. They call it the Taiping Island. You can see that this is a Taiwanese airstrip, literally an air base around here. So it's a very messy situation in the South China Sea, and China is now using Philippines, which is the weakest military among all the claimant states within the South China Sea, to basically test the water and see how far they can go. So this is a very easy target because this is actually a very dilapidated vessel, and the soldiers that's guarding this outpost, which is now a very dangerous place to be because of the ship has been over the long years has been very weathered, and becoming a rather dangerous place rather than a comfortable place. So they are still using they are still trying to resupply this ship and the people over here. However, now the Chinese Coast Guard is now surrounding this ship and blocking any attempt at resupplying to this vessel. And it's important to note, most of these islands over here, despite the 9-dash line, is claimed by Vietnam. And Vietnam literally have airbase, major ports, fortresses all along these places. And China definitely don't dare to fight the Vietnamese now yet, because you do not know where you're going to get, because Vietnam have a much more established fortress system, and their military is way more powerful, especially they have a border, which means that a war between Vietnam and China will be more devastating. So they're trying it on the weakest of them all, which is Philippines. Malaysian military is more powerful than Philippines as well. So not to mention Taiwan. Taiwan is also powerful as well. Taiwan I think is more powerful than Malaysia. So anyway, so this is the current situation right now. So and this time round, if you remember the Indians and Chinese border dispute in the mountains, in the Himalayas, and where they started to fight with sticks. Do you remember? It's pretty famous where they are in the mountains fighting with sticks, and arguably the Indians have a bit of an edge because the Indians were a little more aggressive. Maybe because the Chinese have to travel much further from their base or outpost or whatnot. I'm not sure. So the Chinese is now importing this form of protection of its borders, or soft aggression in the border protection. Bring this using the sticks and swords and knife to the South China Sea from the Himalayas. Is the exact same tactic, and so they basically use these vessels. They basically rush in, and then they basically hurl sticks. You can see that there is some sticks over here. You probably can see this sticks or knife. I think this looks like a knife, and in the scuffle, one of these Filipino sailor or soldier lost his thumb. So it's not a small issue. It's pretty serious. If you go to the Filipinos social media, you probably can see this. I think, do they have okay, see, this is the soldier and he lost his thumb. His thumb is gone. So this is getting chopped off by the Chinese Coast Guard or Marines or soldiers or Navy crew, and whatever that is, this is basically almost an act of war. Whether it is an act of war or not is up to Philippines to decide. But it can be qualified as an act of war because you attack the military of the opposing side. But of course, the Chinese could say that because based on their logic, those waters are all Chinese water, all 9-dash line is Chinese. They can say that it is the Filipinos that incurred into Chinese territorial waters, and they are simply defending their territorial waters. You have to understand the two sides. Filipinos has always been there fishing, and it has historically been their territory in their region. You can see why. It's just next door. No, it's not even a dispute. No, it's basically 200 kilometers away from Philippines. Basically, it is basically where they fish. Basically where they are. To expect the Chinese to claim something over 1,400 kilometers away from their shore, or from Hainan Island, which is around 1,200 kilometers, it's really pushing it. Really is pushing it. So clearly, my side is with the Philippines, but I have to still explain that the Chinese have their logic, and this is their logic. Whether you can accept it or not doesn't matter, because Chinese believe it. They believe that this sea here over here, I'm not sure how many dash line they call it now. I think there's a renewal. Previously it was a 9-dash line. I'm not sure. I think they have amended it to something else. So this claim is firstly ridiculous, but they believe in it, and they have sent Coast Guard, Navy, militia boats to protect it. They have built air bases. One of them is just very nearby. You can see this is a very established military base just next to the Second Thomas Shore, which means that the Chinese Navy can easily just travel over there within 30 kilometers and basically surround the second Thomas Shaw, which is way further for the Filipinos, which is around 200 kilometers. So the Philippines is basically outgunned, outmanned. The navy is not as strong. They have invested badly, I would say, in their military, or not is not sufficient. They should invest way more into more like the Iran style of navy. They are on and an air force as well. No, they are investing in F-16s. They wanted to invest in F-16s. They're like the kind of procurement is just not right because they can never out procure the Chinese. None of the Southeast Asian states can fight Chinese on the conventional warfare way. So the Filipinos need to do better. They need to really rethink the way how they are going to fight the Chinese if they ever going to war. The Filipinos are not ready for war, and according to the articles, the Filipinos are under orders not to display their weapons, and as a result, their weapons actually got stolen by the Chinese. The Chinese basically boarded their boats and also using sticks took away all the weapons. Allegedly 6 of these weapons was taken. So the Filipinos are now demanding the Chinese to return the rifles and pay for boat damage. Clearly, the Chinese will not do it because this is dreaming, and this is kind of stupid. To like you bring rifles and then what's the point of the rifles if you're not using it to defend yourself? So more than 8 motorboats repeatedly rammed the 2 Filipino inflatable boats, and they were trying to transfer food and clothing and as well other supplies, including weapons, to the outpost. They seized 8 M4 rifles, which is packed in cases, navigation equipments, and other supplies. So very stupid situation, and it's like if you go to the both sides is in this very weird situation because both sides claim that it is their territorial water. So how are you going to defend your borders? You're not using your rifles and guns then. Oh, so what is what? But the Chinese, have it difficult because they really believe it's their water. At least the soldiers clearly believe it because they are brainwashed into it because the history book write it in that way. Clearly they will believe it, but they can't use their guns because their military is way too powerful, and they do not want to trigger the Americans in. But then now they're using these sticks and knife and things. I'm not sure how the Filipinos are planning to react. Their military is clearly not ready for war, not ready for at least a war with the Chinese. So what's next? That is a big problem right now. So the Filipinos, by holding back also is a problem because despite that they can claim that they are very disciplined, did not they follow orders and didn't use their weapons. You can see the navigation equipments of the boat totally smashed. Like, if you really believe those are your territory, then firing at the incurred the opponent that is incurred into your waters makes sense. However, of course, they also got outgunned. So this is a conundrum for the Filipinos that cannot be solved unless the US Navy involved themselves, which the US Navy will not because the US administration is very weak. The Indonesians, when the Chinese actually tried to incur into the Riau Islands of this island, I forgot what is this island called. Just off my brain, I cannot remember. So this is Natuna's Island, correct? So this area here was also part of the 9-dash line, and the Chinese Navy entered. They first used the fishermen, they used militias, and the militia boat actually got because the Chinese was using the patrol boat. They go in and out, and then they use a fishing boat to go in to pretend, and then what happened is that the fishing boat actually got boarded by the Indonesian Navy. They arrested all the fishermen on the boat, and they actually blew up the boat with explosive. And in that period of time, that was around 7 years ago or 8 years ago, Indonesia redeployed all their best fighter jets, basically the F-16s, to the Natunas Island and basically reinforce this island with all the best things that they have to basically ward off the Chinese. And the Chinese basically after that backed off, and the Indonesians renamed the sea over here called the Natunas Sea around this area here. And I think the name change was approved by the United Nations, if I'm not wrong. So it was a very tense situation, and that is why you are seeing the Indonesians heavily militarizing right now. But the Filipinos currently, they are also militarizing, but they are really poor. The politics are very messy. The system is very corrupted, and they're buying not the right stuff, in my opinion, to fight. Imagine the Houthis trying to buy F-16s or trying to buy MiG-29s. Can the Houthis still do what they are doing right now in the Red Sea? They can't, because they are buying the wrong stuff. So the Filipinos need to really buy smarter. They need to buy wiser. Then they have to do better. If not, I don't think they are able to push out the Chinese, or at least defend whatever they have taken or claim to be in their waters. The Filipinos do have an airbase in the South China Sea, in the Titu Island, but you see, the Filipinos also find it very hard. Despite I can say that no, you have a rifle, you should use it. The thing is that once they start to use it, it might start a war or a limited war, which then the Chinese will start to conquer all these yellow dots that over here. They'll conquer all of them. They will invade and take all of them, and then create a more parity situation with the Vietnamese, and then then shit will hit the fan. So yeah, this is the current situation right now, and how to say, from my perspective, the Filipinos are still trying to hold the status quo. That means the Filipinos continue to hold the islands that they have, and then they're just trying to resupply the outposts that they have. But it is the Chinese that is ignoring the status quo, and they're trying to push further. They're putting more pressure on the Filipinos. They're blocking their supply vessels. They are stopping the resupply of the outposts. So it's the Chinese that is escalating right now. It's not the Americans. It's not the Filipinos. It is the Chinese escalation that caused Philippines to ask the US to do more to help the Philippines, which is then resulted in the Americans setting up new bases in Philippines, and causing the militarization or the buying of more vessels. And you can also see that the Japanese are giving vessels for free, if I'm not wrong, to the Filipinos. A lot of things is happening, and everything is under the radar, or a lot of things are getting murked up by this Ukraine war, because people who support the neutrals, many of the neutrals tend to lean towards the Russians, or the pro-Russians, all thought that the Chinese are the good guys. The thing is that if you look at the status quo, so as we keep everything the status quo, that means everything will be as it is. So no escalations, everybody stay as it is. Then there should be no war, no problems. Yes, it's messy. No, the islands are all over the place, but at least no one have to die, no one have to fight. But the Chinese are pushing. They are now limiting and preventing the Filipinos from resupplying their soldiers on their outposts. That's an escalation. And that's causing the Americans to do more with Philippines. And this is where the escalation is. Clearly, the pro-Russians or the pro-Chinese, they will start to point fingers, or literally just the anti-West people, because there is a lot of influencers, YouTubers, experts that are just simply anti-West, anti-NATO, and they will just simply point fingers and say that, you see, the Americans are escalating. The reality is, it's not the Americans that are escalating. It's the Chinese that are escalating because they are now trying to exert their sovereign claims. It is a claim. They did not control all these islands before. The communist Chinese never conquered Taiwan. They have never governed Taiwan before. It's just claims. And claims, just like the Ukraine war reporting, claims are just claims until you conquer it. Until you can exert full control over the territory, then it's just a claim. You don't own it. It's just what you say. It's your word versus the reality. And the Chinese are now trying to match the words with reality by asserting more claims, by threatening Taiwan, by pushing the envelope over here in the South China Sea against Philippines. They don't dare to do it with Vietnam because they want to fight one enemy at a time, and the Vietnamese know it. Vietnamese right now is reclaiming islands over in the South China Sea. They are building bases that is comparable and just as big or more powerful than these Chinese ones. So this is a Chinese air base. You can see with a full military base on this area. The Filipinos are doing the Vietnamese are doing the exact same thing right now. They are reclaiming the islands, preparing for war with China. So the situation is getting more and more tense. The Chinese are trying to push the envelope. They're going to try and see how the international community reacts. And if Philippines cannot react correctly, and honestly, the correct path is very narrow, because the wrong path will trigger a war, a limited war will cause them to lose all their islands. So, but then, I personally also not very sure what is the right path, because the situation here is really difficult, because you cannot give up your claim, you cannot leave the outpost. It's the same situation in the Ukraine war. There was a Kharkiv offensive by the Russians, but it was not a real offensive in the sense that they wanted to capture the Kharkiv city. But if the Ukrainians did not defend and did not pull in forces to block the offensive, and did not put in enough troops to defend it, the Russians will just roll over them, and then you just capture more and more grounds. It's the same thing over here. The Filipinos don't do anything. They cannot also don't resupply. They cannot remove the troops from the outpost, because the moment they do that, the outpost is gone. The entire island will be taken by the Chinese by force, because ultimately, as you can see, the air base is really close to where the island is. The Mischief Reef is very close to the Second Thomas Shore. And the moment the Filipinos leave this island undefended, unclaimed, the Chinese will retake it, reclaim it, and then they will build another port over here, another naval base. So the Chinese have three very strategically positioned air base around here, this triangle, and in the middle was the Taiwanese one. They have a strategic advantage in this area here. So they can basically flatten everyone rather easily. The Vietnamese only have one air base. They have two major ports around here. So there's this port, there's another port over here. There's two ports, one air base. The Malaysians have one air base, Taiwanese have one air base, and Filipinos have one air base. Only the Chinese have three air bases. So as I mentioned, the Vietnamese are doing more. They are trying to expand their islands, and they are doing exactly what the Chinese have done. So expect more situation happening over the South China Sea. This is just the beginning. It's like the ending word, words by in the Dune 1 movie. This is just the beginning. Then you see the sandworm flying up the sand, and then but instead this is just speedboat ramming another speedboat. So anyway, this is the situation in case you do not know, and that's it. Hopefully this helped you understand a bit more of what the hell is happening right here in the South China Sea, and what is the hell is happening between all these claims between the two. You can see the way how they smash the boat is ridiculous. Honestly, this is way too much. Even there is really no need to do all these things, because once they start to do this, it's an escalation. No Chinese aggression. Chinese are not aggressive. Whatever, man. See you guys in the next update.